What's up? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, giving you commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. For all of you who are new, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. For those of you who have been here, who have subscribed, thank you so much for your views. It means a lot. Without further ado, let's get started with a very interesting night of Smackdown. And I have to say this before I go any further. With the crowd coming back to WWE, writers and producers and the wrestlers themselves have really stepped up their game in putting on a good show and not snoring our fans. It is very important that we get them excited and pumped up. And last week was the first time WWE fans came back, and it did not disappoint. And from that moment on, WWE has done everything they could to make the show interesting. I don't know if Vince Russo is still writing. I heard there was one young lady who got fired because she admitted she doesn't watch the show. Now, how do you write for a show that you don't watch? Just find something you do watch and write for that. But don't mess us up, man, lady. With all due respect, I'm just saying. I mean, how can you write for Hollywood if you don't understand Hollywood? But I just wanted to put a little humor out there. But moving on, WWE has really stepped up. I mean, last week's SmackDown was amazing. Money in the Bank was awesome. Nikki ASH, is ASH, not spelling. Nikki ASH, who we used to know as Nikki Cross, won the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's side, which is the only thing I saw after Alexa hypnotized Selena, and went on the next night to defeat Charlotte Flair. I said Flavor after cashing in that Monday. And not only that, but Goldberg returned. And I will say this, even the channel elitists said it, explained how Goldberg and Bobby Lashley can really put on a great match at SummerSlam. And I've said it in my first video earlier this year on February the 1st, how Goldberg is really good at giving the best 7 minutes ever. And he can make everybody else look good. I don't know if he's going to be able to defeat Bobby Lashley, but he will certainly put on an amazing performance. But I'd be careful if I were WWE writers that they don't make the last couple of matches of Goldberg look all defeat-like. But let's get on to SmackDown, shall we? With SmackDown being located in two locations, Cleveland, Ohio, and Miami Gardens in Miami, Florida, where we saw rapper Wale usher in the Street Profits. And one half of the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins, will go up against Shad Gable, who reminds me a lot of Kurt Angle. And so Shad Gable and Angelo Dawkins will go at it, and Angelo would get revenge, getting sweet victory after his protege, Otis, who I like to call Otis the evil Olympic ogre because he's a heel, has been crushing the competition in the Street Profits. So sweet revenge for the Street Profits. Immediately after that victory Angelo Dawkins had, Bianca Belair, who is the real-life wife of Montez Ford, the other Street Profit, would come out and have a successful title defense against Carmella after Carmella fussed on Twitter about wanting a rematch this week. So it was a rematch in which Bianca was successful. So who can face Bianca at SummerSlam? I think the only person I can really think of off the top of my head, and I'm not saying the women on SmackDown aren't that good, but with Sasha being on a hiatus on vacation, I think the only other person I can think of quickly that comes to mind is, of course, the debuting Toni Storm. Most of you know Toni Storm from her days in NXT UK as a great reigning women's champion, and of course in her time in NXT. And what's crazy is we're used to her being a bit of a heel as far as good guy versus bad guy concerned, or bad girl is concerned. However, tonight she put on a bit of a babyface vibe in her match against Selena, in which she was successful defeating Selena Vega Of course, I thought there was a moment where both of them actually broke their nose, headbutting each other, but all is well and no one is bleeding. So I think the only competition I can think of off the top of my head would be Tony Storm. Who knows? They can put on a great match. They're both from NXT. So it'll be interesting to see. Moving on, we saw a lot more interesting things tonight. Baron Corbin's downward spiral of depression continues, but I thought it was hilarious when he got shot downstairs and those dirty dogs tried to steal, yeah, they did steal Baron Corbin's money, which was given to him by Kevin Owens, who had a bit of sympathy. And this moment kind of reminds me of how Mr. McMahon begged Stone Cold Steve Austin to help him with the issues surrounding The Undertaker and his daughter, and Mr. McMahon's daughter. And at first, Stone Cold was like, I have no sympathy for you. Stone Cold needs Mr. McMahon to kiss his butt, but I guess he gets a little sympathy. But bad guys, you reap what you sow. So, moving on, things got real interesting at the beginning of the show with John Cena opening up the show, electrifying the crowd. There was no "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks." At least this time, everybody liked Cena. So, if you're Cena, it's got to feel good to be liked by the whole crowd. And so Cena came in and opened up the show with his challenge to Roman Reigns. And of course, response, Paul Heyman comes out and makes fun of Cleveland, of course. Things that live in Cleveland. That was my best impersonation, I know how. And so you have him, he came in and said, you will get your answer by the end of the night, and then tries to mock John Cena's song, which was a bit funny. But nonetheless, it was great to see Cena back. But before I get to the answer, let me move on to some other interesting news. Speaking of the family, of course, we can obviously say that we can put the issue of Jimmy and his drinking habit aside. That's long gone. Apparently, he has been well forgiven. Also, they're taking a page out of Selena Vega's book, mixing their hair with black and red. But they were very successful tonight with Jimmy having a match against Dominic Mysterio, and Dominic was excellent. He was a great performer tonight. I think he is going to do great things in the future, and I'm not just saying that because he's the son of Rey Mysterio and I like Rey and I like him. I really think he's going to do well. I really think he's going to be very talented, and who knows, he could get a singles push and win a championship someday, like US or Intercontinental, and then as time progresses, maybe he can be a main event competitor. Who knows? Time will tell all things. But of course, we have tonight Dominic versus Jimmy Uso. It was pretty good. There was a moment where I thought Jimmy was going to win with the super kick, but Dominic was able to kick out. One of the moments that was awesome was when he tried to pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero with the three amigos, which is 3 vertical suplexes. Of course, Jimmy Uso countered it. And of course, the move that everyone hates, the roll-up, and not only the roll-up, but just like Money in the Bank, a dirty assist from Jimmy Uso. And then we have Roman and Reigns coming out with his cousins, showing off the gold that all of them are drifted in, before Roman comes in and gives a non-PG explanation answer. Before I get to Roman, let's switch gears a little bit and let's go to Edge having his segment with Seth Rollins. I will say this in humor. Seth Rollins' suit actually made sense this time. I mean, a lot of the suits he wears is just so busy. My mother would say it's busy because it's got too much colors at the same time. My mother would say, she's still here. Hey, Mom, by the way. My mother would say, that's just busy. His colors is just busy. And usually his suits are busy, but today it was just plain sky blue colors, but it was still shiny though. He was just shiny. He could walk up in a room and be a flashlight with some of the clothes he wears. But either way, Seth and Edge had a segment, and I went during the commercial break to see what the segment was that Edge was referring to when he talked about how Seth Rollins had a chance to finish him and didn't. And it was a segment where Edge and Christian hosted the Cutting Edge, and the Authority are the so-called remains of the Authority, Seth Rollins, Big Show, and J&J Security, attacked Christian, who is now in AEW, rekindling his rivalry with Matt Hardy. And then you have Edge, and both of them had cut their hair short at the time, especially Edge. Edge was attacked by Big Show and pinned to the briefcase, and Seth Rollins threatened to curb stomp Edge onto the briefcase if Cena did not announce he was bringing the Authority back. So that was the segment that Edge was referring to. However, I really, for years, WWE for years has wanted to see Seth Rollins versus Edge as a dream match. And we thought we would never see it because Edge had retired after relinquishing the championship that he never lost, by the way. And, of course, having to retire because of neck surgery. But after 9 years of exercise and rehabilitation, he was able to come back last year in Royal Rumble 2020. However, thankfully, after the match with Roman and Seth, hope came that we would get that dream match. And that dream match has been teased for a long time now. I mean, over the weeks of segments on Smackdown, we've seen segments with encounters of Seth Rollins and Edge. So WWE has been teasing this for a while, and thankfully we're going to see it, hopefully at SummerSlam, because it is going to be an excellent match. And I think Goldberg versus Lashley will be a good 7 minutes as well. But let's switch gears back to Roman versus John Cena, and if he will accept. Okay, I will say this before I move on any further. That wasn't very PG. Well, it's, if you know what he meant by it, it wasn't PG. For those of you who don't understand subliminal messages and you're young, you're still lucky. You're still under PG innocence, and keep your innocence while you can. You only get to be innocent once. But either way, Roman Reigns came out. He demanded to be acknowledged as always and things of that nature, and he addressed John Cena. But I will be darned if Roman Reigns did not say that non-PG statement that he said. He said John Cena was the same old man he was from, I will say, 2010, because in 2005 he was not PG. Remember, the name of his move was the FU. We all know what FU stands for. And then his submission hold, which is originally called the STF, he called it the STFU, which actually meant shut the heck up. I did not know that till I saw a comment that Kayla Braxton posted about how mean people are towards mixed people such as herself. And it's really sad that we live in a nation like that, live in things like that. But I didn't come to get into all of that. But Kayla, I learned from Kayla what STFU really meant. But either way, back then, John Cena and the Chain Gang was not PG. But Roman said, we got the same Cena from 2005. No, that was a non-PG Cena. You're talking about the Cena from 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14. Throughout the 2010s, during the PG era, which John Cena was the leader of. And WWE had to go PG because of the tragedy and the scandal surrounding WWE and the attacks of the media surrounding WWE in the summer of 2007, which I will not explain due to my content trying to be a little PG. But either way, speaking of PG, he was talking about how the PG Cena is. And he said the most non PG thing ever when he said, watching John Cena is like being in missionary position. Now, for those of you who don't know what that means, don't ask. But either way, he compared it to a position that I'm not going to explain. And then he said, that's not what we're going to do here on Smackdown. And the only thing I will disagree with Cena about is where he said Smackdown sucks because of Roman. I don't know about that, but I do understand Roman is a bad guy and we boo the bad guys, and we're happy to see Cena back. However, unfortunately, Roman Reigns refused to answer the challenge. He said the answer was no. However, we got another challenge on our hands. Finn Balor, who had earlier tonight defeated Sami Zayn in his first match since returning last week, came out and challenged Roman. Roman hesitated for a second, and then the crowd started chanting, "Roman scared!" And so, with Roman scared chants going, and by the way, I'm glad to hear somewhat chants again. We heard somewhat chants again with the Roman Reigns segment, so I miss those what chants. So with the Roman scared chants, Roman said, you know what? I accept your challenge. So what does this mean? Does this mean we're going to get Finn Balor at SummerSlam? Or does this mean we're going to get Finn Balor versus Roman next week? We were hoping to get him versus Cena. So I really don't know what's going to happen. So we got to tune in to see what's going to happen next. Because apparently the next challenger is Finn Balor. So are we going to get Cena at SummerSlam, or are we going to get him and Balor at SummerSlam? Only time will tell. But it's going to be interesting either way. And that's all the time I got for you today. And I'll be back with another review of The Danny Show. Have a good weekend. Peace out.